All right, what is going on, everybody? I hope everyone has had a Merry Christmas and is having a Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. It's that time of year. Celebrations, new beginnings. I hope 2025 is off to a great start for all of you. And welcome to the Touchdown Glass podcast, the first one of the year. And here we're keeping it real. No crazy hot takes or agendas, just good old fashioned football talk the way you like it. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Well, we got college football playoff, and man, how crazy is this, right? All the teams that had the buys, right? Oregon, number one, uh, Arizona State, uh, Boise State, and Georgia are all gone now, right? We have the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds that will play it out for the national title. We talked about what happened last week or the previous week in the playoffs where you had the teams like the SMUs and Indiana's and the higher seeded one, right? And everyone's like, well, those teams didn't deserve to be there. But then you see these 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds progress to the next round and knock off the top dogs. So it's just wild. It's chaos. And if you got stake in the game in this, then you're really liking it, right? The networks are loving it. College football is loving it. They might even expand the playoffs just because you get something new and fresh and exciting, and anything can happen, right? With when you have these amount of teams, and anything can happen. So I think it's great. I think it's great. And the four teams remaining: Notre Dame, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State. I think it's anybody's ball game. It's all there for the taking. Who knows what's going to happen? Can't wait to see it. But you know what? I can't wait for more is, you know, NFL football. And obviously, we're coming up on week 18, the final week of the regular season. But before we do that, we have to backtrack a little and see what happened in week 17. So we start on Christmas Day, right? We had a couple Christmas Day games. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 29-10. So the Chiefs 15-1. They've locked everything up. Home field advantage again. Say what you want to about Kansas City. The table is set for them to make another Super Bowl run. Pittsburgh Steelers, though, at 10-6 now, they fall out of first place in their division. Baltimore in control of their own destiny. Pittsburgh still has a chance of the division, but they're going to need a Ravens loss and a win next week. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Patrick Mahomes, 29 of 38, 320 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Jason Kelce, 8 grabs, 84 yards, and a touchdown. And Xavier Worthy, 8 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson for the Steelers, 23 of 37, 205 yards. No passing touchdowns, and he threw an interception. He did rush for 55 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 13 carries, 74 yards, and Pat Freiermuth, 7 grabs for 60 yards. So the Chiefs were actually up at halftime at this 13-7, and then they had an all-dominant second half, and that's what people have been waiting to see from the Chiefs, right? Can you be dominant? Can you not, just keep escaping out the back door of these games? So yeah, they went on the road and they were dominant against a good Steeler team, but a Steeler team that has lost 3 in a row now, which is not good heading into the playoffs. You don't want that kind, you want some momentum and you want to be playing your best football. And right now that's not Pittsburgh. All right. The Baltimore Ravens beat the Houston Texans 31-2. The Ravens now 11-5. And like I said, in control of the NFC or the AFC North. Houston, of course, they've already wrapped up the AFC South. They're in the playoffs. They're, locked into that number 4 seed. They're 9-7. So Lamar Jackson, 10 of 15, 168 yards, 2 touchdown passes. He also had 4 runs, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Derrick Henry, another monster day, 27 carries, 147 yards and a touchdown. And Mark Andrews, 2 catches, 68 yards and a touchdown. CJ Stroud, 17 of 31, 185 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Joe Mixon, only 26 yards on 9 carries, and Nico Collins had 3 grabs for 59 yards. So look at these numbers here. The Ravens, first downs, 25-10. So the Ravens had 15 more first downs than the Texans, and they only allowed 1 sack, in which Houston allowed 5. And the time of possession, 35, 21 to 24, 39. So just these were the factors that really made the difference in the game, and just Houston just could not get anything going. And man, you go to, Houston fans, they head out on Christmas Day to go cheer on their team to score 2 points. Yikes. All right, Thursday night football. And speaking of this one, it was brutal. The Seattle Seahawks defeat the Chicago Bears 6-3. So it's like a Mariners and White Sox score, right? The Seahawks 9-7. Of course, their playoff chances are done now. The Rams have won the division, and the Bears 4-12, 10 losses in a row. That Hail Mary against Washington. I mean, we're talking they're going to be 5-2. Things are on the upswing, and yeah, it's just been a crazy downward spiral ever since. Geno Smith for the Seahawks, 17 of 23, 160 yards. Zach Charbonnet had 15 carries for 57 yards, and Noah Fant, 4 grabs, 43 yards. Caleb Williams, 16 of 28, 122 yards, no touchdowns, interception. DeAndre Swift had 81 total yards, and DJ Moore, 6 grabs for 54 yards. So these teams only combined for 23 first downs and only combined for 444 yards of total offense. There were no points in the second half. And Caleb Williams was sacked 7 times. And that's one of my knocks on Williams is people say the Bears offensive line is bad and it needs to improve, but he holds on to the ball way too long. And that's something I think can be corrected. People are giving him flack for the interception. At the end, it was desperation. There was not much. It was 4th down. He's about to take a lick. What can you do? So people create their own narratives. But yeah, Caleb, the holding onto the ball too long, that's his main problem. And I think it can be corrected. And I think it will next year, especially if the Bears hire the proper coach. Shout out to my buddy Justin Paxton, a regular listener of the show. This poor soul and his wife went went to all the effort to go to the game and just to see 3 field goals made. But I guess he had a good time. Looked like you had a good time in those tailgating pictures, Pax. All right. So we had some games on Saturday. The Los Angeles Chargers beat the New England Patriots 40-7. Chargers 10-6. We know they're a playoff team. They're the 6th seed, and the Patriots 3-13 at the top of the draft order, which we will talk about later. So Justin Herbert, 26 of 38, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. Don't you love seeing the talent that Herbert is putting up these numbers and winning? Oh, it's lovely. And J.K. Dobbins was back, 19 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. That's huge for the Chargers. And Ladd McConkey, rookie sensation, continues to do his thing. 8 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Drake May, 12 of 22, 117 yards and a touchdown. Antonio Gibson, 12 carries, 63 yards. And Demario Douglas, 4 grabs, 46 yards, and a touchdown. So, this was just dominant from start to finish by the Chargers. There's really no other way to sum it up. We kind of know what the Patriots are. They're a team that has a very good rookie quarterback, but not a very good team around him. And we're still trying to figure out what kind of head coach Gerard Mayo is. It looks like he will be back. But yeah, great dominant performance by the Chargers. They're heading into the playoffs full head of steam in Harbaugh's first year. What more could you ask for, considering where this team was last year? All right. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Denver Broncos in an overtime thriller, 30-24. Bengals keeping their playoff hopes alive at 8-8, but the Broncos remain in the driver's seat for that last playoff spot at 9-7. So Joe Burrow, 39 of 49, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins, 11 grabs, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Jamar Chase, 9 catches for 102 yards. Bo Nix, 24 of 31, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jaleel McLaughlin, 10 catches, 69 yards, or I'm sorry, 10 rushes for 69 yards. And Marvin Mims Jr., and what a little season he's having. 8 catches, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So this was a great back and forth game with a lot of big plays, and that Marvin Mims Jr. made like some Randy Moss-like catches in this one. The crazy thing about this one was the Bengals were about to end it in overtime. Kicker Cade York, it's another one of these kickers kind of brought off the street because of injury. He missed a 33-yard field goal that would have won it. So when the Bengals had another opportunity to score in the red zone, and it would have been a super, easy chip shot, no, they just kept playing until Burrow threw a touchdown to Higgins. A little risky, but when you have those kind of issues in a kicking game, that's kind of expected that can happen. So again, Bengals keeping the playoffs hopes alive. But if Denver wins versus Kansas City next week, they are in the playoffs. We'll talk more about playoff situations later. Another playoff team, the Los Angeles Rams, they are division champs. They will likely be the 3 seed. They beat the Arizona Cardinals 13-9. So, like I said, Rams 10-6, Cards 7-9. Matt Stafford 17-32, 189 yards. Kyren Williams, 13 carries, 56 yards and a touchdown. And Puka Nacua, 10 grabs for 129 yards. Kyler Murray, 33 of 48, 321 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Michael Carter, remember him? 13 carries, 70 yards. And Trey McBride, man, the next generation of great tight ends are here. 12 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown. So the Rams are division champs, like I said. Cardinals actually won this time of possession 36-55 to 23-05, but allowed 4 sacks and 2 turnovers, and the Rams were clean in both those departments. So that clearly the Rams being able to get after Kyler Murray and force him to do turnovers, clearly the difference in this one, and because of that, they are headed to the postseason. All right. Sunday's games saw the Philadelphia Eagles just destroy the Dallas Cowboys 41-7. So obviously there was no Jalen Hurts in this one, and Kenny Pickett started, and he didn't do too bad of a job. 10 of 15, 143 yards and a touchdown and a rushing touchdown, a tush push. But he did get hurt. So Tanner McKee came in, the third quarterback, 3 of 4, 54 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Saquon Barkley ran up and down the field, 31 carries, 167 yards, and the Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, 6 catches, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Rush, 15 of 28, 147 yards, a touchdown pass, and 2 interceptions, both by C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 1 return for a pick 6. Rico Dowdle, another 100-yard game, 123 carries, 104 yards, and Brandon Cooks was the leading receiver with 4 catches for 52 yards. So Philly, the big difference was the turnovers. Actually, Dallas moved the ball well at some points in the game, but they turned the ball over 4 times, and it was a really bad second quarter by the Dallas Cowboys. They, Mike McCarthy may have sealed his fate here, all right, because they had a 3rd and 6. They ran the ball, didn't make it. They had a 3rd and 1. They threw deep, didn't connect. And I get it. They're not going to make the playoffs anyway, but it was just, if you are playing to win this game, that didn't look good. Those were both pretty bad decisions because you weren't going to go for it on 4th down that deep in your own territory. So, yeah, that may have done it, but who knows? We're talking about Jerry Jones that has to make that decision. But anyway, let's get back to the Eagles. Saquon Barkley cracked 2,000 Can you believe this? What a story this is. He eclipsed 2,000 yards, and he joins an elite company. There's only I think I believe it's single digits. I want to say maybe he's the ninth. I'm not sure. It might be lower than that. There's not been many guys that have rushed for 2,000 yards, but he is one of them now. Is the rushing record, Eric Dickerson's rushing record in reach. We'll talk more about that later. Let's move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who defeated the Carolina Panthers 48-14. So Bucs back in control of the division, 9-7, because the Falcons lost, and we'll get to that. Panthers 4-12. Baker Mayfield 27-32, 359 yards and 5 touchdown passes. Bucky Irving 20 carries, 113 yards, and Mike Evans 8 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bryce Young 15-28, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns, both caught by Adam Thielen, who had 5 catches for 110 yards. So this was all Bucs. Time of possession 41-11 to 18-49. That is just pure dominance, and only one punt. First downs 33-13. That is sick. Baker Mayfield, good for you, man. You are a baller, and I'm loving this turnaround in your career from what it was just a couple years ago when you were getting cut by the Carolina Panthers. And here we are now. And Sam Darnold was on that roster too. And man, it's just wild, and it's fun to watch. Remember, this Carolina team took the Bucs the distance to an overtime, a few weeks ago. And Tampa, after a tough loss to Dallas on the road that put them back, comes back strong at home against the Panthers. Dominate from start to finish, and they got some help from the Washington Commanders. We'll talk about in a bit. Sunday night, and now they're looking good. Just one win away from making the playoffs again. All right, Buffalo Bills just smoked the New York Jets 40-14. Bills 13-3. We know they're going to be the 2 seed. Jets 4-12. Josh Allen 16-27, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for a touchdown. James Cook 15 carries, 53 yards and a touchdown. And Amari Cooper 3 catches, 56 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers 12 of 18, 112 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Pretty bad day for him. Tyrod Taylor entered the game and got an ovation from the Buffalo Bills fans, a standing ovation and cheers. So, that's classy by the Bills Mafia. I love that because Tyrod Taylor ended their 20-year playoff drought. So, anyway, he went, I may have said this already, so I do apologize. He went 11 of 14, 83 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Breece Hall rushed for 45 yards on 10 carries, and Garrett Wilson 7 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. So Buffalo led this game 40-0 until about 6:59 left in the fourth quarter. So there was, I think, it looks like 3 Jets turnovers in this one. You're not going to turn the ball over against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and expect anything less, especially when you're a team like the Jets. So anyway, we'll talk more about the Jets here in a bit with Aaron Rodgers and what's happening with that situation. All right, so the New York Football Giants kind of screwed themselves, right? They get a home win. They beat the Indianapolis Colts 45-33. So Giants 3-13. Indianapolis Colts 7-9. Drew Lock, 17 of 23, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. My goodness. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 20 carries for 59 yards, and Malik Neighbors, oh, what a game for him. 7 catches, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Joe Flacco, 26 of 38, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jonathan Taylor, 32 yards, 125 or 32 carries, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Alec Pierce had 6 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. So this game was actually 28-26 with 10:53 left in the fourth, and then 35-33 with 6:38 left. But again, we talked about Indianapolis turning the ball over 3 times, and the Giants get their first win at home, and they're no longer in the driver's seat for that number 1 overall pick. We'll talk more about that later. The Las Vegas Raiders defeat the New Orleans Saints 25-10. So Raiders 4-12, Saints 5-11. Aiden O'Connell 20 of 35, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amir Abdullah 20 carries, 115 yards, and Brock Bowers 7 grabs, 77 yards. Spencer Rattler 20 of 36, 218 yards, 1 touchdown. 2 interceptions. He was also the team's leading rusher with 3 carries and 46 yards. Juwan Johnson was the team's leading receiver, 6 catches, 66 yards. So this was 13-10 at the half, Las Vegas leading, and then it was just all Raiders the second half. Not much more to say about this game. Forgettable season for both teams. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Tennessee Titans 20-13. So Jags 4-12, Titans 3-13. Speaking of forgettable seasons, right, Mac Jones 15 of 22, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Etienne Jr. had 75 total yards, and Brian Thomas Jr. I love this guy. He's just bringing it every week. 7 catches, 91 yards, and 1 touchdown. Mason Rudolph, 19 of 31, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Tajay Spears, 20 carries, 95 yards, and Calvin Ridley, 5 catches for 84 yards. So Jags, they led 13-0 in this one. Never looked back. There's not really much more to it. Let's move on. The Miami Dolphins beat the Cleveland Browns 20-3. So Miami 8-8, still alive in the playoff hunt, and the Browns 3-13. So Tyler Huntley, a former Brown, probably more remember him for his time at the Ravens. He started for the Dolphins in place of Tua, 22 of 26, 225 yards and 1 touchdown. He was also the team's leading rusher with 7 rushes for 52 yards and a rushing touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 105 yards. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, 24 of 47, 170 yards. No touchdowns, 1 pick. Deontay Foreman, 13 carries, 49 yards, and Jerry Jeudy, 12 catches, 94 yards. So this game was, another baseball score. The Marlins leading the Guardians 6-3 at the half, until the second half, where Tyler Huntley was able to make some plays, a 13-yard touchdown run and a 7-yard touchdown strike to tight end Jonnu Smith, and that's all they needed. Didn't even need that much, really. Didn't need anything. If it was 6-3, then it's just 20-3. Anyway, we know what kind of season the Browns are having. The Dolphins are still alive. We'll talk about that later. The Minnesota Vikings defeat the Green Bay Packers 27-25. Vikings 14-2. Packers 11-5. Sam Darnold, 33 of 43, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Justin Jefferson, 8 grabs, 92 yards. Jalen Naylor, 5 catches, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. And Jordan Addison, 6 catches, 69 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Love, 19 of 30, 185 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Jacobs, 17 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown. And Romeo Doubs, 7 grabs for 58 yards. All right, so this was 27-10 Minnesota with 6:12 left in the game. But 15 Packer points in that time frame to close the gap, but they just couldn't cap it off. And they had Sam Darnold throwing some passes to close out that last possession. And he came through clutch. And, what a story that that he is, Sam Darnold. And we're going to talk some more about that here in a little bit. But the Vikings, 14-2, still looking up at the Lions in the division, but it's all for all the marbles next week. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Washington Commanders defeated the Atlanta Falcons in overtime, 30-24. So Commanders 11-5, Falcons 8-8, dropping out of the division lead. So Jaden Daniels, 24 of 36, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He also had 16 rushes for 127 yards. Sick. Olamide Zaccheaus, 8 catches, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. And for the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr., not a bad performance at all in only his second start. 19 of 35, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Drake London, 7 catches for 106 yards. So Atlanta had the lead in this one, 17-7 at the half. But Michael Penix in Washington regained the lead pretty quickly in the second half, but Michael Penix Jr. is clutch. He made this 4th down bullet throw to Kyle Pitts with 1:19 left to tie this thing up. It was sick. And the Falcons got the ball back and a chance to end this thing, not go to overtime, but Riley Patterson missed a 56-yard field goal. So Younghoe Koo hurt. It was a 56-yarder. He didn't even, he couldn't even kick at the distance. And it was probably a good thing if you're just watching this as a football fan, because they got in field goal range over kind of a bogus pass interference call. That should have been a legal contact or defensive holding and a 5-yard penalty. Instead, it became a spot foul, setting it up. So I kind of felt like, things, justice, it was justice by him missing that field goal. So, of course, Jaden Daniels puts together a nice drive in overtime and hits Zach Ertz for the game-winning touchdown. And congratulations to the Washington Commanders and their fans, because this is the first time they've had an 11-plus win season, at least 11 wins, since they won the Super Bowl, right? The 1991 Washington Redskins, when they won the Super Bowl, they were a 14-2 team. The team has not cracked 11 regular season wins since. This is over 30 years. So congratulations to the Commanders and their fans. That is awesome. And Dan Quinn beat his old team, but there wasn't really a lot of buzz about that, I guess, because it's just so much time has passed, but whatever. Anyway, all right, Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Detroit Lions beat the San Francisco 49ers 40-34. So the Lions now are 14-2. Like I said, now they it's for all, it doesn't really matter. It's Minnesota and the Lions. I know the Lions technically have the lead. It's just tied, right? Because it's for all the marbles next week. And the Niners dropped to an abysmal 6-10. Jared Goff, 26-34, 303 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 18 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. He also caught 4 balls for 46 yards. And Jamison Williams, 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Brock Purdy, 27-35, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Ricky Pearsall, 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. And George Kittle, 8 catches, 112 yards. So the Niners led this one 28-21 with 7:40 left in the third. But the Lions had 19 unanswered points, and they were able to wrap this thing up. Brock Purdy, I think, is getting a lot of flack, and I think, we know he's not the Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. He's never going to be in that category, but I think he's a very solid quarterback. Maybe you don't want to pay him $60 million, but maybe you could give him $50 a year. I don't know, but I think this guy is getting way too much flack. I mean, what he's come in and done in this league after being Mr. Irrelevant is pretty impressive. And it's just been a rough year for San Francisco all the way around. You can't put it all on him. I mean, this guy did put up some big plays and some big numbers, and he's still a very young quarterback. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about this playoff picture. All right. So we got AFC, Kansas City locked in, 1 seed. Buffalo locked in, 3 seed. Baltimore's in the playoffs. They need a win or a Pittsburgh loss to be that 3 seed. And the Houston Texans have made the playoffs. They're pretty much locked in the 4 seed, I believe. The Steelers, if it were to start today, they'd be the 5th seed, but they still have that shot at the division, as I mentioned. The Chargers, the 6th seed, and right now, as it stands, Denver would be the 7th seed. However, we have the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals in the hunt in that order. So the Bengals, to pull this miracle off, they need the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs backups, and they need the Dolphins to lose to, I believe they are playing the Jets, I want to say. Yes. So that's what's going to need to happen. Obviously, Miami just needs a Denver loss and a win. So it's going to be, when I go over these next week's games, we'll kind of get an idea of what you will know by the time, this game rolls around and that game rolls around. Let's go to the NFC. So Detroit, they'd be the number 1 seed today, but they could, if they lose to the Vikings on Sunday, they're going to be the 5th seed, and that's crazy because I think we would all agree they've been the most dominant team all year, pretty much, if we're looking at the total body of work start to finish. The Eagles are locked into the 2nd seed. They've won their division. The Rams locked into the 3rd seed. We know about the Bucks. They just need a win or an Atlanta loss. The Minnesota Vikings, right now at the 5th seed, could be the one. It's crazy. The Washington Commanders now are in the 6th seed. So this could be big. This could be the difference between going to Philadelphia and Los Angeles, and the Packers in the 7th seed. So the only team that really is on the outside looking in is Atlanta because of the NFC South. So some big things here to be determined in this last week 18. I mean, who's going to be number 1 and who's going to be number 5, right? And who's going to be that 4th spot? Will it be the Buccaneers, or will Lady Luck smile on Atlanta? They get the Bucs loss and the win. We shall see. All right, let's talk about some things. Pro Bowl rosters are out. You can go up and look them up. I'm not going to go into too much detail on them. I don't really even care anymore because I'm more into looking at all pro teams than I am these Pro Bowl teams. I don't want to knock it for the guys that make it, right? Because it does mean something to someone who's been grinding and working, and then they get to participate in Pro Bowl activities and have that pride. I don't want to poo-poo it in that regard, but you can go and check it out. But here's one thing no one had on their bingo card. Patrick Mahomes did not make the Pro Bowl, and Sam Darnold did. That's just, how does that not blow your mind? Speaking of Sam Darnold, these next couple weeks are pretty critical, right? Because the Vikings have a big decision to make. They've drafted J.J. McCarthy, and we kind of seen the overall body of work of Sam Darnold. But this year he's been amazing, right? He's played out of his mind. And what do you do? There's talks of the Vikings maybe signing Darnold and shipping off J.J. McCarthy. Or do they say it was just Sam's lucky year in a good system with a good coach? We really like the future with this young guy. I think it just all depends what happens in these next couple very big games. And that's kind of the luxury of it for the Vikings. Sit back, wait and see. If Sam Darnold can take you further than any quarterback has since Fran Tarkenton, which would be a Super Bowl berth, then I think pony up. But if it's an early playoff exit, you got a tough decision to make. All right. So here is another tough decision. Do you go for history or do you play it safe because you have a shot at a championship? Well, normally I'd say play it safe because you have a shot at a championship. However, this is a very special record. We're talking about a record that's been around like 40 years. Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record, and Saquon Barkley would have a chance to break it if the Eagles were going to play him, but they're going to rest guys. And, I get it. You don't want to get him hurt. You want to be fresh for the playoffs, but you're playing against a, very bad Giants team that, gives up the defense, gives up a lot of points because the offense usually isn't that good. I know last week was kind of a different story, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, wow, wouldn't this be the icing on the cake? The Giants say, Saquon, you can test the waters, and if you want to come back for this to us, we can talk about something. But yeah, go see what's out there. Fine, I'll go to Philly, and I'll have a season for the ages, which he's had. And he could, a 2,000-yard rusher, and he could, I think, could have a really good shot at breaking this record if he was able to play if they allowed him to play on Sunday. But I mean, I get it too. Sirianni, he takes a lot of heat, and if this backfired on him, I mean, how we would forget that we said, oh yeah, go for the record, go for history. We'd forget about that. If this backfired on him, we would bury him. We would forget what we said, and we would bury him, and we would. So I get it from that perspective. It just feels like everyone feels like we're being cheated. Now Eric Dickerson loves this. He loves having that record, and you can call him petty. I don't think it's any worse than the Dolphins champagne toast every time the last undefeated team loses. This, Eric Dickerson has remained relevant because his record has stood for 40 years. Think about all the changes in pro football that have happened that have just, it's stats galore, fantasy football, the records are being shattered left and right. This one is one of the ones that has been very tough to break. Like I said, it's been around 40 years. So I like the cockiness and the confidence and the hell no, I don't want my record broken. I love it. I love it. He's not being classless. He's just being honest. And I love it. All right. Speaking of a running back going in a different direction, the Dallas Cowboys actually waived Ezekiel Elliott. And he was not claimed. I think it was a mutual decision. I'm kind of wondering why, maybe, hey, we're going to give some reps to some younger guys, bring some younger running backs up and give them some reps the last game to see if we want to bring these guys back. Maybe Zeke thinks he could, be claimed by a playoff team on a practice squad, just maybe needs a short yardage specialist, although he's not even looking like that anymore, but maybe someone that can come in and block on third down, right? Because he is still a good pass blocking back. I don't really get the logic behind it, but those would be my guesses. Kind of they should have never brought him back. I didn't understand it. I was a little happy when he scored that first touchdown against Cleveland week 1, thinking, okay, maybe this is kind of the elixir to the red zone issues. But clearly not. And it's just kind of a sad ending for a guy that had just hit this league by storm when he came in. It's just a shame it was so short-lived, that he could play at a peak level for maybe only like 3 or 4 years before it was all over. All right, speaking of being all over for somebody, Aaron Rodgers, he's looking forward to mental and physical rest. Even acknowledged this could be it for him. And apparently Woody Johnson and that relationship with Aaron Rodgers, the Jets owner Woody Johnson, it's not repairable. So I think Aaron's done with the Jets, maybe done with the NFL for good. But we'll see. A lot can happen in an off season. I'm sure we'll always find a way to talk about Aaron Rodgers, whether I want to or not. All right. So the draft. Here is the draft order if it were to start today. Now, this could all change quite a bit, but the New England Patriots would have the number 1 overall pick, followed by the Titans. I'm just doing the top 10. Titans, Browns, Giants, Jaguars, Panthers, Jets, Raiders, Bears, Saints. So we have 4, 3, and 13 teams. So these 4 teams have a record of 3 and 13. I know, because when you say 2 numbers together like that, it could throw people off. 3 and 13 teams. There's 4 of them. So one wins, another loses. It's going to change quite a bit. But the Patriots, if you're a Patriots fan, you got to love this because you have your quarterback. Drake May's your quarterback. You got your guy. I'm convinced. He's got the size. He's on a bad team, and he's showing us something. You got your guy. So can you mortgage this into more picks? Or do you take a guy like a Travis Hunter who could really be a contributor on the offense and defensive side of the ball? So this could work out beautifully for the Patriots as they try to rebuild this franchise around their young quarterback. For the Giants, it's very disappointing because they're going to need a quarterback. Are they going to be able to get the quarterback they want at that 4 if they stay locked in that 4 spot? The Titans are probably going to go quarterback, or the Browns. So with those teams locked in those spot, Patriots, no. But the Giants, I guess you could maybe trade up, but it's going to cost you, and you have more needs than just a quarterback. Jaguars at 5, that's a good spot. Panthers 6, so it'll be nice if Panthers can start drafting players again. Jets at 7, that's kind of a tough spot to be too if you are dead set on drafting a quarterback. Same with the Raiders. Bears, they have their guy. No, they have their guy. Caleb's going to fix his issues. He's doing some good things in this league, and you got to watch with an open mind and just not look at the box score. He's made some very impressive throws this year, so he's got to fix his. We've talked about his issue, holding on to the ball too long. And Saints at number 10. So that's what it is now. We'll see what it is next week. Okay, let's preview the Week 18 games. So we got 2 games on Saturday: the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So with Cleveland and Baltimore, again, big for Baltimore. I think Cleveland's going to lay down. They're just going to start. Actually, they're going to start Bailey Zappi. So, yeah, they may play to win, but I mean, really, I think want to stay locked in to a top 3 pick, and maybe even possibly get the number 1 overall pick. Ravens, they're going to, I'm pretty confident they're going to come away with a victory and win this division, lock up that 3 seed. Now the Bengals, okay, so they have to win. Pittsburgh's desperate for, I think, a win just to. Now they might rest people if the Ravens win, but I almost feel like Mike Tomlin will want some kind of feel-good momentum going to the playoffs. However, these Bengals are going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them. And, we will know after this game, if the Bengals are able to come with a win, then we're watching this Denver and Miami closely, right? We're watching the Chiefs and the Broncos, and we're watching the Dolphins and the Jets, and we're watching that closely to see. So you kind of hope as a football fan that Cincinnati, I'm not knocking Pittsburgh here. You kind of hope as a football fan that Cincinnati wins just so you continue to have that that mystery who is going to be in. All right, Sunday's games: Carolina Panthers at Atlanta Falcons. Again, huge for the Falcons because they just they need a Buccaneers loss, and that might be a lot to ask. But they have to win this game if they are to have a chance at all. Panthers, maybe there'd be some pride for Bryce Young to just kind of, you know, bury the Falcons season and Michael Penix, have a win against what looks to be a promising young quarterback also in Michael Penix Jr. So, maybe there's something a little there for the Panthers. But yeah, much more at stake for the Falcons. All right, the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. I imagine Houston's going to probably try to rest some people. They have had some injuries, and they probably don't want to bring any more into the playoffs. I'm sure they'd love to be playing better. Um, but, if you're the Texans, you have to have realistic expectations. And, this franchise was just in the gutter. And for them to be in the playoffs and division champs back-to-back years, just take it for what it's worth and, get in the playoffs, see what you can do and go from there. You won a playoff game last year. Maybe you're able to do the same, but I think it's going to be a lot more difficult this year. All right, the New York Football Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. So we talked about the Eagles resting people. They're kind of locked in that second seed. We'll see if maybe there's a change of heart on Saquon Barkley playing. I pretty much doubt it, but yeah. But it might be nice for the Giants and Malik to get Malik Neighbors going and have him another big game, just to build his confidence and his momentum going into next season. I know he's a confident guy, but it's what he's capable of, and it's great. Like last week, to see his full potential on display when you're getting him the football like that. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. This could be the final game for one Doug Peterson. And as for the Colts, I haven't looked at the injury report, whether it's going to be Flacco or Richardson, but a shame they weren't able to kind of have a little more consistency this year and kind of be one of these final teams in the mix. All right, the Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. So, Commanders, you kind of still have something to play for, right? You'd probably rather play the Rams, go to Los Angeles and play SoFi, than go to Philly and play the Eagles, even though you've beaten the Eagles. But it was a very, you really have to gut it out, and that's a veteran team that's going to be refreshed because they're going to rest guys, and they're going to, they just have so many playmakers. So, and plus, are you really going to get swept by the Cowboys? For Washington fans, they take the rivalry a little more seriously than the Cowboy fans do. But do they really? Do the fans 11 wins is great, but you're swept by the Cowboys? They probably don't want that. They would love to end it with a win in Dallas, and I think they have a pretty good shot to do so. Not sure how the Cowboys are if they're going to just kind of stay the course with what they've been doing, or they're just going to kind of shut guys down and play some young guys. So that could be a factor in it as well. The Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. So Packers interested to see what they're going to do. If they're going to say, hey, maybe Washington slips up, we'll try to get this win against the Bears. What would it mean for the Bears to beat the Packers in this regular season finale? I'm not sure if it really means as much as it would have, like a month or so ago, where they almost pulled it off. This game just kind of seems like just ended already for the Bears, where the Packers, they kind of have to hoe and hum. Do we play our guys and maybe hope Washington slips up and we can go to Los Angeles instead of Philadelphia? But they might like their chances against the Eagles because I think they do match up well against them. But again, we'll see. It might be nice for the Bears, like I said, just to end the season on beating the Packers, and Caleb can say he beat the Packers, but it just doesn't have that same feel as it would have. All right, the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we talked about what this means for the Bucs. They a win and they're in, right? Now Atlanta could lose, and then they just start, shutting guys down. Um, and I'm not sure. Forgive me. I'm not sure if this is a 1 o'clock or 4. I think it's a 1 o'clock, so it's probably won't won't happen that way. But if the Falcons, if they kind of see, oh my, you know, as we go on in the game, and it's the Panthers are just whooping the Falcons, they might start pulling some of their guys or something. But they're gonna play and they're gonna try to win this game, and I think they have a good shot to be that fourth seed. I just don't like Atlanta's chance. They could beat the Panthers. I just don't see the Bucs also losing to the Saints. But stranger things have happened. All right, Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. So, do the Bills start again shutting people down? Do the Patriots? How do you do this? You're locked into number one. This could work out beautifully for you, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bob Kraft made a phone call and be like, "Yeah, let's play this guy and that guy, and what about that practice squad guy you just brought up?" So, um, you know, decisions for both teams there. Again, I think Buffalo's going to rest, and the Patriots. We'll see how they if they try to just get a win and make everyone feel good, or just figure out a way not to win and make everyone feel better about having the number one overall pick. Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. So again, this is another scenario just like that, right? Chargers locked into that number 6 seed, I believe. So probably, resting guys, Raiders playing for pride. Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. So ding, 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 we got something here, because even though the Chiefs are resting their guys, the Broncos a win and they're in, right? Cincinnati beats Pittsburgh, doesn't matter. Broncos are in. Yeah, this is something we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on. And this would be big for the Broncos because they have not been to the playoffs in they've gone I think like nine years without making the playoffs. The last time they were in the playoffs was the year uh, they won the Super Bowl, right? When they beat the Carolina Panthers in the Super Bowl. Seems like a lifetime ago. Um, yeah, so we'll definitely have our eyes on that game. The Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. Again, this looked like it was kind of shaping up where it might have been shaping up to be a division showdown showdown for the division. The Rams have already clinched. The Seahawks, I believe there may be some bonus. I was hearing this on the radio, some bonuses for Geno Smith. He's got some within reach. So it'll be interesting to see, a little insult to injury where uh, the Seahawks missed the playoffs, but Geno can make more money off the team if he hits his incentives. So Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start for the Rams. Jimmy G and the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. So huge for the Dolphins, right? Okay, so we got Denver KC going on. We'll know what has happened if Cincinnati's still in the mix, but it does not matter. If the Dolphins win, Cincinnati can't go to the playoffs, but the Dolphins need to win, and Denver needs to lose. So that is kind of that scenario. But we got the granddaddy of them all on Sunday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. The Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions. This is the granddaddy of them all. It's going to be fun. I mean, 2-14-2 teams, the irresistible force versus the immovable object. I just cannot wait to see it. It's going to be, yeah, this is the one that everyone's looking forward to. Obviously, the playoff scenarios with that 7th seed in the AFC, but who's going to be number one and who's going to be number 5? Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, who's going to make the big play and who's going to make the mistake. I can't wait. I can't wait. All right, well, that's all I got for now, and we will be talking playoffs next week. Playoffs? Playoffs. All right, enjoy the games, everybody.